You know, I absolutely love the celebs. We love our celebrities, right? And when you see somebody winning, when you see somebody happy, and you see somebody doing good, it should be by your design, by your human design, to also clap for them. And when you genuinely want to see people win, you see that energy, you see that happiness, and you see that glow, and you see that joy, then you want to be, it literally becomes inspiring. So it inspires you, and then you take in that energy too. It's very contagious. It's kind of like how people say, "Oh, Brie, you got a beautiful smile. Your smile is contagious." And your smile should be contagious. When you walk in certain places, you go in certain vicinities, and you go in certain places that you may frequent, and certain businesses and things, and you greet somebody and you say hello, your energy should be, and your smile should be contagious, right? So obviously we know that it can have quite the opposite effect. So, when you see somebody win, and you see somebody elevating, and you see somebody who may be very well off and very successful in things, we see that and we admire that, and we should be inspired by it. So we absolutely should be inspired by people who reach a certain level of success. Now, the problem is there are people who get on the internet and they use their platforms in a very irresponsible way. And you might say, "What are you getting at, Brie? What do you mean?" So there are people who get online and they try to, the way that they express themselves in a way where it's almost as if they want to make other people that does not have the material things that they have, their possessions or whatever, what have you, they want to make them feel like they are less important, or make them feel like that they don't have as equal of a right, or that they're important, that their existence or their expressions is not as important because they don't have a certain type of stature. Now, anybody that know Brie knows that I love me some Beyonce, right? She's one of my favorites, but I mean, who really ain't rocking with B, right? So people use this expression people use this expression saying on quote unquote Beyonce's internet, right? And I think that is funny. A lot of us find it humorous, right? But at the same time, it's like, for people to get on the internet and for them to say, "Don't express yourself and don't get on Beyonce's internet and say certain things in a certain type of way," almost as if they are like they're trying to say, or they are suggesting that if people don't have a certain type of status, that they should not get on the internet and express themselves. I have a problem with that. I think that is a problem. And why? Why is it a problem? Because, when people try to make a difference, or when they get in their ego and they get so ugly to come out of themselves, saying that people shouldn't be able to express themselves because they don't have a certain type of following, if you will, because they don't have clout, right? Because a lot of these people, they have certain followers and things like that, but people do a lot of things for clout. But then when you talk about the comparison, and people comparing people, and people having platforms, big platforms, where they're not using them responsibly. And what I mean by that is not being mindful that there is the youth that's watching, that there is young folks that's watching, and that there are people who don't have the mental capacity or the confidence, right? They don't have the self-confidence, and they don't have the self-awareness Could be because they may have a mental challenge, or because their brains and their mental is probably not developed enough. So people get online and they say certain things almost as if they're trying to suggest or insinuate some level of more significance or higher value, and being irresponsible, not remembering that there are young people that are watching, that there are children and folks who live in poverty, that you shouldn't say, oh, it's Beyonce's internet, as if the internet is only used by people who are celebrities or people that are in prominent positions. How ignorant is that, right? How ignorant is that? It's very disappointing. And again, we should celebrate those who are successful and those people that win. I would never encourage anybody to be a hater, because if you're carrying that frequency, or if you're like a lot of people on the internet who love to sub people because they don't have nothing better to do, or they're like a part of some type of secret group or secret society or whatever, and they like to watch people on the low, they like to try to target and sub people on the low to try to, do some of the most sneaky things in hiding, right? The mimicking, the mockery, the doppelgangers, the monitoring spirits. People are talking a lot about the whole gang stalking thing, right? It's just all of this weird demonic stuff. And then the same people will bring the Most High into it, and then they'll say the Most High almost as if trying to express themselves and to give an illusion that they are a good person, or that they are some type of great stature, when they don't even do the work on a daily basis to prove that they actually are living righteously. But they'll throw around the Most High. It's kind of like people throwing around the I love you thing, just saying stuff freely. People are constantly saying stuff freely out of their mouths that they don't really mean, saying, oh, they want to bring up the Most High, and people hiding behind the Bible, hiding behind scripture, and hiding behind religion to try to hide the skeletons in their closet, to try to hide their shadows. It's like, is that real? How is that working for you for real? Is that working for you? So when you have wisdom and you have spiritual discernment, you can see through the BS, People talk a good game and then they try to say the Most High and things. And it's just like, really? So you're living a righteous lifestyle. You in your prominent position, you that have all of this success and this big platform. I'm not hating, do you? You should have the things that your heart desire, and you should be happy, and you should be successful, because that's a part of the human experience, and that's what a lot of us actually want. It's a natural thing. But when you're using your platform to try to make others feel inferior, where the enemy is a lie, that's when it becomes a problem. And then people get to comparing, because to even make certain statements and to even come to the internet to say certain things in a certain type of way, you have already suggested that you are comparing. So if we want to talk about the comparison and talk about, these certain individuals in these prominent positions and having all of this success, it's like, you want to make someone feel inferior or feel bad, but did you tell people what it took for a lot of you to get to where you got to, right? People have done some of the most unspeakable, unspoken things behind closed doors, some of the most questionable stuff, some of the things that, if you want to talk about the Most High, if God came down as a man or a woman and stood in your face, would really be disappointed, would be absolutely disgusted. Some of the things that are very questionable, where your integrity, where their morals, where their principles, their standards are in question, and people have the audacity to try to use their possessions, the things that they have in their clout, to try to give advice or give somebody lessons and tell somebody that they need to heal. The world, a lot of people on the planet needs to heal, because it's just kind of like the nature and the time that we're living in. We're living in a time where everybody got things going on. But it is very disgusting to somebody's spirit like me, and I'm sure it is very offensive to a lot of people who actually do the work and who actually purposely try to walk righteously and not throwing around, the Most High and all of this stuff. There's a lot of people who are hiding behind religion, the scriptures, and the Bible. They really are, to try to prove something, to try to prove that they are good, to try to prove their worth and their value, or because they scared. Here I go. Because they scared to go to hell. Don't get me started, because I get the preaching. So people continuously try to throw around bringing the Most High in their conversations and their reels and their messages to try to paint the illusion that they're living a righteous lifestyle. And then on top of that, have the audacity to try to give somebody advice and tell them what they need to do in their life, or that they even can recognize or have the wisdom or the knowledge of someone who's actually needing healing, instead of speaking positivity, because there's a lot of projections going on where people are genuinely happy and people are genuinely elevating in their life and doing well for themselves. And there's just a lot of negativity. These messages are being disguised by a lot of individuals who are genuinely unhappy in their life. And they have nothing better to do than to what? To keep tabs on somebody else and to check for somebody else and to see what else they're doing. Living secretly in fear. Disguise all of that happiness, so-called success, all of that is fear masked and disguised as fear. And then people like to throw out and project the illusion of people wanting to compete with them. And it's like, what success looked like to me is probably not what success looked like to you. Success to me, let me let you in on a little something, right? Let me let you in on a secret. Success to a woman like me looks like having beautiful, nurtured relationships, sustained relationships where there is genuine love that is expressed on all sides. Everybody is doing well. Success is waking up in the morning and being able to communicate with spirit, to have a spirit, to be grounded spiritually, to have peace, to be able to meditate, to be able to do yoga, to be able to be separate and apart from all of the individuals that are walking in the direction of the blind. While all of the craziness and the BS that's going on in the world, while the world is going to hell in a handbasket, and you and your people are doing well, to see people that you genuinely deeply love happy, to see them smile, to see them embrace you, to have them to embrace you and light up when they see you, or people that you are associated with to embrace you in a certain type of way. Basic humanity, human things. That's what success is to some of us. The small things. Being in connection, in genuine connection. Taking trips, right? Success is never to a woman like me to get online and to try to make somebody feel less or inferior, or even to compete, because a woman that is sure of herself, such as a woman like me, your presence already speaks volumes. Your presence alone already holds a very high frequency. So there is nothing to prove here, but at the same time, there is nothing and no one for me to try to make inferior for whatever reason. Could be because of the things that I possess, or some people it's because of their titles and things. But before I end this, I want to ask whomever it you know, whomever may resonate with the message. If you was to take off all of your garments, if you was to take off everything that you have on, and if somebody was to take all of the things, all of your possessions away from you, who would you be then? Who are you genuinely in your nakedness? So that's something for you to ponder. And if you are online telling somebody that they need to heal, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to leave it right there. Ashe.